I'm Gab, he's Jules. Grey skies over West London, but that's okay because we're here to brighten everything up.
Yeah.
We have the magic of the FA Cup, Jules.
Incredible
the
weekend.
Biggest upset, statistically anyway, in history. The holders, Crystal Palace, going out. Manchester United and Spurs also going out. That's not quite news, some might say, if they're mean. We got word that Michael Carrick could be on his way.
Yes.
Very exciting. Inter and Napoli, what a game, 2-2. But we got to start with the Clásico, Supercopa, Jeddah. This game was, I thought, super entertaining. And I thought it was also
great. It was great.
A little bit of a throwback. Marca said that, Real Madrid becoming Mourinhista.
Yeah.
With Kylian Mbappe unfit, he only played like the last 50 minutes or so. It was a more defensive Real Madrid that gave the ball to Barcelona.
Yeah.
And maybe if those early chances, Vini and Gonzalo Garcia.
Yeah, those two.
Could have worked.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tricky one, I guess, because you're right. The lineup lacked creativity. Adagula was on the bench, for example.
And there was a bit of a mystery around that because, again, straight from the Mourinho Dark Arts catalog, they announced that he's starting.
Yes.
And then they say, oh, no, he's not starting. Sorry, human error.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but the fact that he stayed on the bench until the 70th minute or something like that, that you had Camavinga and Bellingham central, Tchouaméni as a centre-back, you have Valverde as a right midfielder, so he left really Rodrigo, Vini and Gonzalo as your three attacking players. And I'm not sure the flat 4-4-2 works anyway. This is something that Xabi has done for quite a few weeks now. I'm just not sure in a game like this especially works. Although Real Madrid were in that game until the end, right? They came back twice. And even at 3-2, they have the two best chances right at the end.
Yeah.
It's just a shame for them that
it's
a shame for them that it's their defenders.
It's funny because on television, at least, I mean, you described it as a flat 4-4-2, and it looked that way at times on television. It looked to me almost that like Valverde was almost as a right back for long stretches.
Yeah.
Tchouaméni obviously was pushed all the way back as well. And it looked to me like Rodrigo and Gonzalo, their job was to go and disrupt Pedri, which to some degree they did. Although in the end, it's Pedri who does Pedri magic and lays on that perfect pass to Lewandowski, for example, to make it 2-1.
Yeah, no, I thought Rodrigo on the left-hand side was interesting because that's his best position, really, again. And Vini has played more central with Mbappe. Usually this time was with Gonzalo because, as we said, Mbappe could not start. They flew him over the day before to play 15 minutes and touch the ball 8 times. What's the point of taking him from Madrid to Jeddah for that? I don't really understand.
Sponsor?
No, maybe. But I can understand they wanted him to start. He didn't feel like starting. They took the more caution approach, which was the right thing to do. But it's still a bit weird. And without Kylian, it's all down to Vini, really, to do things on his own. And to be fair, to some extent, he did.
6 months in, it shouldn't be that way.
Exactly.
And that's the thing which still gets me. Yeah, you can point to the chances and whatever. But in the end, Real Madrid's 2 goals. One is Vinicius doing a fantastic stuff, the nutmeg on Jules Koundé, whatever. The other one is basically a goal mouth, set piece, goal mouth, scramble, chaos. We go back to this. It's nearly 7 months now of Xabi Alonso. What are you working on?
I don't know, because also the team keeps changing. We thought Gula could be the answer. He could dictate the play. He could be the guy that is at the heart of everything. And then he's benched for a game like this. So maybe, you wanted a more defensive approach. Maybe. But even that, as we said, it was hard to really understand what Xabi Alonso was trying to do outside of just give the ball to Vini. And Vini is going to go not even 1v1, because there was often 2 on him or 3 on him. And just do something like that. When Mbappe came on, although he didn't touch the ball much, as we said, but it's his cross for Asensio's header. He was involved in the Carreras chance too. But it's just, you're right. He's just not enough with the ball. What is Bellingham there for? Yeah. What is Bellingham's job? What is Valverde's job in a game like this? All of that.
I think the positive for Real Madrid is that you showed that they can be humble and follow defensive orders anyway, at least in the Clásico, which is a small step forward. I feel remiss we haven't mentioned Rafinha yet. Incredible. 2 goals, phenomenal performance.
Yeah, him, Lamine, even Lewandowski on his goal, to be fair. And this is a game that could have finished 3-2. It could have easily finished 7-5, 7-4 for Barcelona, because they were still creating enough chances. And when those three are like that, especially Rafinha and Lamine had moments after a quiet first half hour. I think it's really hard to stop them. So it's about you scoring more than them.
I have to say, this was a very entertaining game.
Yeah, it was
for
great.
the neutral. We saw two great games
First half
Sunday night. But we're going to break this down further on the Gab and Jules podcast. Jules, I think we've been very consistent this season in pointing out the flaws in Real Madrid and the flaws in Barcelona. There is a difference here. Both teams have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
One of these teams, despite being under financial restrictions, despite having had a slew of injuries, despite having I think a horrendously constructed squad, especially at the back, despite the high line, despite all this stuff, despite the 50-year-old center forward, Hansi Flick's team, they've won 5 of 6 Clásicos.
Yeah.
You said before, 8 of 8 finals.
For Flick, incredible.
The guy always wins.
He always wins. Champions League final.
We have to give him credit.
Yeah. Champions League final, cup finals like this, Super Cup finals if you want, anything. There's just not even the World Cup final, if you count him as an assistant coach. It's just a remarkable, really.
And if you don't count the final game in the group stage in, was it 2018?
Yes,
I'm thinking?
yeah.
Okay.
But so I agree with you in the sense that I think Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid, although they were in until the end, for me took the wrong approach. And maybe on a more attacking approach, trying to get the high line, trying to attack more, they would have lost 4-2, 5-2. We will never know. Because this Barca team, as we've been saying all season long, you can do damage to it. But in a game like this, where he had his 2 wingers in great form, he had Pedri in midfield that makes your life so easier as a coach, I would believe. Then I think Flick and this Barcelona team are still right now too good for Real Madrid. And Real Madrid won the Clásico in La Liga a couple of months ago. And there will be one coming up at the Camp Nou in another couple of months. But on a game like this, I just think they were no match.
I struggle to say this because, like I said, I've been pointing out, you got to take the good with the bad with Flick and stuff. It's frustrating because the bad, I think, is very flexible. You don't need to change your philosophy. Just, as I said, don't spend money on Rashford, spend money on defender, all this stuff. But he keeps proving the critics wrong in the sense with the results.
Yeah,
now,
with the titles,
you could put this the other way and say, actually, maybe Real Madrid are really bad and Barcelona only first through inertia. And we watch these games every week. And 1 week it's Joan Garcia saves you, another week Yamal does something amazing. But, over time, when you keep winning, I think this squad deserves credit. Yeah. And because, again, I go back to this, I look at it, and I ask myself, other than Rafinha, Yamal, and Pedri, Joan Garcia, you want to put him in there if you think he's risen to that level?
Very soon, certainly.
I think a fit Balde, and maybe
probably.
a fit Koundé. Who else is outstanding? And some might say Kubarsi, and you know what? I don't think he's there yet. I think he's worse now than he was a year ago. He's just not conceding, right? When you look at all these other elements in there, right? Fermin Lopez, who they wanted to get rid of, who does a phenomenal job when he plays, but then you break him down individually and you say, at least I do, right? Ferran Torres, right?
Yeah,
who
same.
became
Dani Olmo.
Hey, his system makes all these guys shine.
Yeah. And especially if you play into their hands. But in a way, whether you try to defend a bit like Real Madrid on Sunday night, whether you try to attack like Inter Milan, let's say, in the Champions League semi-final of last season, it's tricky to beat them. And Inter did, and maybe it was a miracle from Acerbi, whatever it was, they did. PSG attacked them this season in the Champions League, and they won away in Barcelona. But there's also teams who tried to attack them, who got beaten. There's teams that tried to
Chelsea
wait for
beat
them.
them too.
Yeah, and Chelsea beat them too.
Enzo Maresca, hey, where's he now?
Enzo Maresca. So it's you can have a go at them, but you know that they will attack you, and they will have that kind of pressure, put that pressure on you. I think they're a wonderful team. I don't know how far they can go outside of Spain, again in the Champions League. Because for me, this is it's not all that matters. But they're 4 points clear in La Liga with a home Clásico to come. I think they will win it. And because Real Madrid and Xavi are still struggling to find their own identity, what's the best 11, not relying too much on Kylian, all of that. I think Barca will win this. Okay, so it's another huge domestic season. They probably win the Copa del Rey and everything. Fine. The Champions League will be the one, really. Yeah. And let's see what kind of approaches the team that play them now that it matters. Not so much the 2 games in January, but from February onwards, playoffs, quarterfinals, like 16, etc., etc.
You talk about identity, and there's no question that Barcelona have a very marked Flickian identity.
Yeah.
And you can say he has a 12-month head start, although it's not really 12 months. It's probably more like 9 months because Xabi Alonso, of course, took over in June. Mm-hmm. Real Madrid shapeshifted for this game. They went with a far more defensive outlook that they would take even against another big team. Like if they were playing Bayern, I don't think they would play like this, right? They specifically chose this. It's a one-off. I don't particularly like it. But in a one-off game, you could understand it. Maybe it gives them the best possible chance to win.
Yeah.
But when we go a little bit more surgically into this, are we taking for red that if Arda Güler doesn't start, you don't have any kind of creativity other than individuals running at people?
Yeah.
We saw Bellingham carrying the ball. We saw Vini carrying the ball.
Yeah.
It's either that or it's a set piece, yeah?
Yeah, I know. And it's sad to say because really we expected so much, maybe too much of Xabi Alonso, knowing how difficult it was probably going to be to work with his dressing room compared to the Bayer Leverkusen dressing room, not so much in terms of talent because this is a more talented team, obviously, or squads, but in terms of having those players doing exactly what you want them to do, maybe. That's why you play Vini and Mbappe as a front two, because otherwise it doesn't really work out of possession. That's why you play that flat 4 in midfield, whoever is there, because it's the easiest way of defending, especially with all the injuries that you still have in a way defensively and that you certainly had even more recently. But he's struggling to find the right formula for these squads, and he might not find it between now and the end of the season. So what's the next 6 months for this team? How far can they go in the Champions League? Can they really catch Barca in the league?
And what do you work on? Because you know what?
Yeah.
If you're Xabi Alonso and you say, okay, you go to Florentino and you say, maybe this is an idea. You say, Presi, we know all the issues with this team, the way the players are together, whatever. We have outstanding players. This is not what you brought me for. So in the Champions League, I will put out a team that does whatever it takes to win, and we might win ugly. We may have to defend, and then Mbappe does something special, or Vini invents something, or it's a set piece, and so on. I'm going to be, in the Champions League, I'm going to be Ancelotti stroke Zidane.
Yeah.
In La Liga, we give it up this year. We'll finish second or third. Don't worry, we'll still be back in Jeddah for the Champions League.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 19 training sessions. There's going to be 19 games where maybe our stars don't play because they don't fit the system, where I'm going to try to impose my patterns of play, my system, because this is the only way we can learn, and it's the only way the players can fit into it.
Yeah.
And it means we give up La Liga. I mean, look,
Yeah.
It's a fantasy.
No, I know.
I don't believe it's going to happen.
But I
don't know what Florentino would say if he said that, because there's no guarantee you'll win the Champions League. But to me, I see this as the only way out, because if you're trying to constantly shoehorn and you're constantly making adjustments, even Mbappe becomes a problem for you, in the sense, a good problem.
Yeah.
But in the sense that, it's 0-0 away to Alaves or whatever, and you're like, oh, how do we do this? Okay, last 30 minutes, everybody just give the ball to Kylian. And the schemes go out the window.
True, but which is what we've seen already this season, before. Even the defensive approach, because we talked about Mourinho and the Mourinho's Real Madrid from the past, they probably had those players. You could play Pepe as, you're holding midfielder in that midfield three, and he would break everything. I don't think they have those players either. So he will, and okay, maybe just no Arda Güler in this team was because of it was against Barca and he wanted a bit more steel in that midfield. Okay, maybe it makes sense. Tchouaméni,
one-off game, Classico, we can live with that.
Maybe. Yeah. But they just need Arda in this team. Otherwise, I don't think he's ever going to work, really.
Well, we'll be monitoring this. But just again, as a neutral, I was very entertained.
Yeah, it was this first half, especially because second half, I think Real Madrid ran a bit of gas.
They definitely, and it was quite hot, I think.
Yeah,
in Jeddah as
it
well,
looked,
from the reports.